Manor Lords is a medieval city builder and real-time tactics video game that was developed by Greg Steigen, and I think that's how you say the surname. We're just going to refer to him as Greg from now on so that I don't butcher his name anymore. And Greg is from his own development company known as Slavic Magic, and this game is also published by Hooded Horse. Manor Lords was the most anticipated game on Steam, releasing into early access on the 26th of April 2024, and it was also released on PC Game Pass, with an expectation to release the game on Xbox One and Series XS consoles at a later date. And before we jump into the development of the game, the gameplay itself, there is a message from Greg, and all of this is going to lead up to why I believe Manor Lords is one of the best or one of the greatest games in history. So we have a few words from the dev before the launch into early access. This was posted on the 17th of April, so around a week before the release of the early access version of the game. So it says, "Hey everyone, it's been quite a journey so far, but it won't stop on the 26th of April. During development, the core tester group was around 130 people. Given the popularity of the game, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a wave of feedback that I will need to address after the early access launch. I wanted to address a few things for everyone who intends on buying the game when it releases into early access. So what this game is not. Manor Lords is not a Total War competitor. It's a city builder with battles. Yes, battles are there, but not as huge or as frequent as some of you might expect. The majority of gameplay is focused on city building and management. It is also not an empire management style grand strategy game either. The map has regions, but you're not going to be able to conquer the whole of Europe, nor have marriages or anything like that. The game is designed to play at a much smaller scale. It's also not an RPG either. If you've played Kingdom Come Deliverance or Mount and Blade, Manor Lords is a different type of game. There is a visit mode in Manor Lords which allows you to walk around your town, but that is an experimental cosmetic bonus feature. The game is really meant to be played from the bird's eye perspective like a strategy game almost always should. There won't be any first-person gameplay. And it's also not a competitive, fast-paced, real-time strategy like Age of Empires or StarCraft. A lot of the game mechanics focus on aesthetics of your town and resources take some time to be transported around the map. This results mostly in a more of a relaxed experience with high-intensity moments spicing up atmospheric city building rather than the game being at high intensity all the time. Then we have this will be an early access release. Yes, it must be disappointing, but I think it's the right choice. It's my first serious game and not only some stuff is still unfinished, but I bet you guys will ask me to change some things you don't necessarily like. But I want to pursue an open development strategy of a back and forth between me and you. I think it worked great for the game so far. I'm comparing to times where there wasn't even a testing group and I was developing in a bubble. The publisher and I recently shared the game with content creators all over the world. Feel free to check out numerous streams and let's plays out there before buy-in to make sure that this is the game for you. That said, the reception has been super positive so far, for which I'm very grateful. I think the game should find a way into the hearts of players who expected Manor Lords to be what it is, a realistic, organic, authentic city builder with real-time battles. And then we have one more category for this message, and it's the roadmap. I do not plan on releasing a roadmap yet. I've made a mistake once or twice before of promising and working on a feature only to find out that the testers didn't care as much as I did and that they actually wanted something else. So even if I have a plan, I want to adopt the philosophy of listen, verify, implement. This way I expect the first month of patches to be just bug fixes and polish. During that time, together with Hooded Horse, we'll be collecting your feedback and then prioritizing work based on what we hear. I'm still considering whether to keep the testing of future patches closed or open. My current idea is to have an open pre-release beta branch so that everyone who owns the game can check and test the most recent pre-release unstable version of the game and contribute if they want to, and keeping the main branch as the previous most stable version. Though let me know, maybe you'd prefer me to keep the unstable versions to a closed testing group. As always, thanks for following and all the support. I'll certainly keep the updates more frequent here once the early access officially starts. Have a good one, Greg. So that is part of the reason this is one of the best games in history, and granted, it's only in early access, it's only been out for 2 days, but I think the player numbers as well kind of add to proving that this is an amazing game, because it's reached an all-time peak of 173,000 players. It's been stated that the game sold 1 million copies within 24 hours, and it's an early access release. Not only that, but from what we've just read, Greg is very set on like helping add feedback into the game so that it's based around the player's vision, which is great for the players, but at the same time, I think it would actually be quite a bad thing if Greg took it too far and let the players control exactly what happens. I believe this game still needs to be the majority of Greg's vision, just with player feedback implemented at the same time. Something that must be very, very difficult to balance, and I do believe Greg is going to do a fantastic job of that. So moving on from that to the development, Greg was the creator and solo developer. Now bear that in mind, Greg has created this game on his own, and he did that through his studio Slavic Magic. In early years, the game was funded in part through donations on Patreon. There was then an announcement trailer in July 2020. Greg initially aimed for the game to be wishlisted 14,000 times on Steam. That was Greg's expectation, or more Greg's wish. And it came out that Greg's girlfriend expected half, so she was expecting the game to hit 7,000 wishlists. However, anticipation grew steadily, and Manor Lords, having been wishlisted over 2 million times by January 2024, overtook Hades 2 shortly before release to become the most wishlisted game on Steam, with over 3 million wishlists by release. And the game was originally planned to be released in late 2023, but it was delayed to the following year because Greg felt that it needed more bug fixes and more polish. Manor Lords has now been released into early access as of the 26th of April. Greg also released a statement that we've just read out. And in that statement, Greg highlighted a lot of important stuff, like things that players shouldn't expect, things that players should expect. And that moves us into the gameplay of Manor Lords. So Manor Lords is set in late 14th century Franconia. It's a city builder game which also includes real-time tactical warfare. The game has 3 different modes, titled Rise to Prosperity, Restoring the Peace, and On the Edge. And these 3 different game modes are differentiated by the aspects that they focus on. Rise to Prosperity and On the Edge respectively emphasize growth through city building and conquest through warfare, while Restoring the Peace gives a much more balanced experience. The game offers a degree of customizability, with players able to adjust in-game values, such as your starting position and the threats you will face off the map. The city building aspects focus on expanding an initially small settlement through gathering resources and expanding trade networks, and you do that while managing threats to the settlement's internal cohesion. The game's emphasis on in-depth historical accuracy means players must manage 6 individual types of taxation, and balance quick growth with natural aspects such as weather and the possibility of environmental issues. Manor Lords, normally viewed through a top-down isometric perspective, also includes a feature which enables players to explore their settlements using a third-person camera mode. And that mode is known as Visit Mode, and wow, is it a good mode to have in a game like this. So basically what you do in Manor Lords, you choose your difficulty and stuff, you set up your banner, you create your character, like you choose your character name and select the portrait for them, and when you jump in, all of your villagers, like the possible families and stuff you're going to have, are homeless. You need to start with your typical like wood cutting camps, and you need to have the logs turning into things like firewood and planks and stuff like that. You then need to build housing, and it just develops over time through that. You eventually get to like clay deposits, you've got stone deposits, berries, you can build a hunting camp so that you can have your villagers go out and hunt and find animals, bring it back, and that supplies food. You then get your fields, you have to have a farmhouse, you get trading networks you can set up, like supply routes and stuff. And it's just the gameplay in general that does really, really well. Not just how all of the systems work, like upgrading your housing so that you can have extra families, but you can also turn them from basic houses where your families go out and work, like go into the log cutting camp or whatever. You can turn them into homes where your families actually stay at home and do all of the work there. Like they will start chicken farming to produce eggs, they will do lots of different stuff. You'll even be able to get your families to stay at home and start producing stuff for your militia, for your military to use in combat. And you'll start off in this tiny little region. You'll have basically nothing out there for you to go and explore until you earn the ability to go and basically conquer other regions. You're going to have combat against people. They start from off the map, they come onto the map. You have these battles and you can conquer different regions so that you can get different resources. Because basically, for an example, when it comes to say gathering meat, you've got a limited amount you can gather unless you find rich deposits. And then for an example with the stone stuff, when you find a rich deposit, instead of just setting up a mining pit to gather stone at a limited limited quantity, you can eventually start building stuff where you can farm the resource in an unlimited quantity. And when it comes to the fields, you are time limited. You need to sort out your fields so that like during the months of harvesting, they can harvest. You need to improve their fertility. Like there's loads and loads of depth to this game. And then you have the absolutely brilliant visit mode where you can just walk around your village that you have built up and you can see everything happening before your eyes. Everything your families are doing in your base, in your city, whatever you want to call it. You can see it all unfolding. You can see the construction and the construction, like the graphics of this game, the way the art style is, the setup of it and everything is fantastic. It's not just, oh, you're going to like start this construction, you're going to see like 2 or 3 different stages to it being built. You actually get like your transporters bringing the goods over and then you see like individual planks being put on rooftops and stuff. And all of what we've gone through in this video is why Manor Lords is one of the best games in history. This game was developed and created by one single person, and it goes to show if you have the passion, if you develop the ability over time, because it's all experience and learning when it comes to game development, just like it is with pretty much anything else in life. But if Greg can do it, lots of other people can do it, and if they're working as part of a bigger company, surely they could work as a team to do it. We see lots and lots of different games releasing in really bad states, and I'm not saying Manor Lords is a perfect game. I mean, you can already tell that by the fact that it's early access. Quite a few features are missing because they've not been developed yet, and there's a whole journey ahead of Greg developing things that he wants in the game as well as what the community want. But it does show that if you put your mind to something, you can achieve anything. This is or was one of the most anticipated games on Steam. 3 million wish lists is not a small feat. That is huge. And as stated, it's like overtook Hades 2, which is a really anticipated title. So the fact that you see some development companies with 3,000 developers and things like that is crazy, when games of this quality can just be created by one single person. Greg has done a phenomenal job. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time on Manor Lords so far, and that is exactly why I believe it's one of the best games in history. And what we're going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about Manor Lords in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.